1 second. Okay, we're now live. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for coming on to this special podcast. It's called Writer's Notes, where we will talk about three issues amongst each other. It's really about educational and helping you grow on Substack or become a better writer through this process. So, if no further ado, I'm going to invite Chris, Tracy, and Nat. If you haven't seen them, follow them. Please do. Link is in the bio. I'll make sure their information in the bio. And welcome to our first writer's notes. This is awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys coming on.
What can go wrong?
Thank you so much for setting this up.
Us.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, it gets more interesting. Come on. That's the way it is.
So we're currently broadcast on Substack, YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok. So we're on all those platforms. But majority of this conversation, I really want to do is I had this thought here about how can we help other writers or other Substackers who are struggling with growth, who are struggling with writing, who are struggling with AI, all those things that we struggle with every single day. I mean, we've all encountered them. We all face those challenges, and we kind of worked ourselves through them. And I think one of the things that I just want to open it up and see what are the issues that let's start with the first thing. What are the issues that you guys see out there as a Substack or a writer? I'll start with Chris.
Well, I think if I were to do this all over again, if I was to come back to Substack all over again, I would do it in a completely different way, because I came at it with I'm just going to throw my stuff out there and see what happens, right? Without any kind of plan, without any kind of thought, without any kind of direction. And then after I started doing it, I realized, okay, I've done this completely wrong. I should have done this in a completely different way. I should have been a little more thoughtful about how I set up my Substacks, what the content that I put on there, that, what niches I should be in and things like that. So it really depends, I think, from the very, very beginning. You have to kind of decide what your goals are on Substack, right? Because you were talking about growth, and then you were talking about writing, and it's kind of like one of the things about it is that it's a very flexible platform. You can be on there to grow a huge list, or you can be on there just to use it as a daily blog or a diary, right? So there's a lot of different ways in which you could use Substack. So I think you have to come at it from what are my goals here? Do I want to grow a huge 10,000 subscriber list and sell digital products to them? Or do I just want to write my poetry? And if anybody reads it, great, right? So I think it's really important to kind of think about it before you actually jump into it. Spend time on there and decide for yourself, what do I really want out of the platform before I decide to leap into it? And how can I create this beforehand, and visualize what you're trying to do before you jump into it? And I should have done that prior to getting into it. So anybody who is aspiring to get into writing on Substack, I think that's what they should think about first. Like, what are your goals?
Good point. And the audience, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. We'll respond to it. Anything related to Substack, writing and stuff like that, or the discussion we're having, please do, and I'll ask the panelist that question and see if we can respond it the best. So Tracy, let's go. Let's start with you.
Can I ask Chris a question though, based on that?
Sure.
So what is your goal now on Substack?
Well, I've realized that I have I have 3 or 4 different newsletters, and the goal for one of them is to grow it as much as possible, because I want to get to the point where I can get an income stream out of it. And another one is just to, say whatever I want to say. So it's kind of like the Random Thoughts blog, or the Random Thoughts newsletter, and the, seriously niched newsletter. And I put those both under the same account, which I probably shouldn't have done because of the way Substack was structured. So if I was coming at it again, I would have thought of it as, okay, I'm going to have a single newsletter, which is down this niche. This is my money-making newsletter. This is my, do whatever I want newsletter, and do something, create a different account for each one of those things.
I made
the same.
I did the same thing as you. Like, when you got on Substack, you're like, what is this? This is so new. And you're like, you want to be everything for everyone. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to go on to personally write about, why I started Let's Get Unstuck, because I was in a stuck position. And I was like, I'm just going to write like a personal diary journal or whatever. and see what happens. I had no idea about monetizing. I had no idea about growing anywhere. I just had one of my friends say, you need to get what's in here and get it out there and see what comes from that. And there was no
Yeah.
logical approach to it other than I just want to connect with others. But then I started to do what you did, and I collaborated with another person and started creating all these different newsletters, which just ended up like, I don't know, confusing. Maybe if somebody went to my profile page and was like, wait a minute, you write about pain, purpose, power, which is let's get unstuck, but then you also write about dark signals or news this and this. They're like, who are you? So I'm kind of looking
Yes.
back and I'm like, does it help if we go back and we remove all of those and just keep the one that is like our most, like what we've discovered is like maybe our main lane and drive into
Yeah.
that? Or like, I don't know what that's something that I was kind of considering the other day.
Well, so the thing is that I don't know, Nat, you can chime in too on this if you want, but the way Substack is structured, when you post a note, then it has a little subscribe link beside you, but that only drives people to subscribe to your number one newsletter, not necessarily one of your other newsletters. So, for example, if you post something that goes under Let's Get Unstuck, and Let's Get Unstuck is your number one newsletter, then somebody hits subscribe, they'll go to the right place. But if you post something for would you say dark something rather?
Dark signal.
Dark signals. So if you post something on dark signals and someone goes, well, that's interesting, so they'll click subscribe, but then they get subscribed to your Let's Get Unstuck newsletter instead of the dark signals newsletter. So it's just a part of the way it's structured. So if I were to do it all over again, I would create a completely different account for completely different things. Now that I'm kind of rocking, I probably don't want to do that because I have 700 subscribers over here, 400 subscribers over here, and it would be just very confusing to do that. But if I were to do it again, so I would start from scratch with that sort of thing.
Yeah. And, oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want to just say one more thing about what you're known for. It's like the algorithm and human beings we're all very similar. It's kind of like we're very complicated individuals, all of us. But when we talk to somebody else, they want a simple explanation of what you are and what you do, right? Like, what's your 30-second elevator pitch of what you are? So I know what to do with you, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like an offshoot of when we were sort of roaming the savannah and we'd have to suss somebody out in 30 seconds. Is this person a threat or this person's not a threat, right? So that's why we have to niche down so narrowly so people can, not just humans, but the algorithm goes, oh, this guy's known for Nomads 50 plus. Then if that's what they're known for, I'm just going to show his content to other people who want to see that. So that's what happens is that we by putting out all sorts of different kinds of content, we confuse the algorithm and it doesn't know what to do with us. So the more you stay in that niche, then the more the algorithm knows who to show you to, if it's written properly.
So Nat, what is your feelings about that? Like, would you, like when you started off this, did you just start off as a regular reader and then started posting down the road, or what was your strategy with this?
So I actually had never heard of Substack and I stumbled upon it. When I started it, I actually wrote an article about this because I struggled to find my niche in the beginning. I've changed my newsletter like 3 times. I've changed the structure, the content, and I finally landed on the midlife reset, which really incorporates everything that I was experiencing. And so I left it at that. I'm designing a framework sort of around that, which I do intend to monetize, and that's really my end goal. But lately, I've been posting some other things which are non-related to midlife, really just about the authenticity on Substack, just things that are really bothering me. So, like, I feel like my niche it's evolving. And it does tie back to my product, which I feel like I'm more in like the release phase of what I'm doing. And so by release, that just means, I'm just kind of letting everything out. And if I see something that I feel needs to be called out, I call it out. And I've gotten really, really amazing responses to that, which I think, John, you and I actually spoke about this. And February 18th, I was at maybe I just hit 200 subscribers, and as of today, I'm almost at 750. So that's been in a little, like, maybe 5, 6 weeks, and it's just this one article that I published. Just every day I get comments and restacks, and it's a over 1 point, 1,500 likes at this point. So I think for me, I agree with what Chris said to an extent, that you should plan, but I think, like, as much as you plan, you just never know where it's going to land, because it's just so, it's got a mind of its own. And 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I posted a note, and I've been on multiple lives stating that I've really never gotten any type of subscribers from notes. And so a question that I kept getting was, a lot of people are like, well, what's the difference between a subscriber and a follower? And so I posted a note which basically said, like, I'm not going to follow you. I'm either going to subscribe to you, or I'm just not going to do anything. Because a follower is obviously, it's someone who doesn't give you their email address, and so they're not notified when you publish content, right? But it moves you to their page. And a subscriber, well, you get hit with the inboxes and the emails. But unfortunately, the way Substack links your bio and your stats, they just really count the subscribers. And so I decided to just post a note and saying, hey, like, if I like your content, I'm just going to subscribe. I'm not going to follow, because I don't have the time, and I'm being really honest. Like, I don't have the time to go back into, like, my followers and see, oh, do I want to subscribe to this one, or do I not? And that note just gave me, like, I mean, it's going, I wouldn't say viral, but it's probably the best note I've written in 6 months. And I've gained, I would say, probably 50 subscribers within the last day or so. So you never know on Substack what works and what doesn't.
That's a really great note, Nat. Like, because honestly, when you've laid that out perfectly, like a follower to a subscriber, like a follower isn't like somebody who's genuinely attached to your work yet. It's just somebody who's like, oh, maybe kind of, let's just see how they go. I love that note. I'm going to restack your note. I just followed you while you were talking.
Thank you.
I just subscribed to you. Not
you did. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, just to emphasize, there is a difference between this. I'm going to make this very clear about the following and subscriber. The following it's more of a tease. Hey, I'm following you because I want to see on this. But a lot of people will unsubscribe because of the inbox, because they're getting inundated with all these subscribers and they're getting frustrated. So what happens is, in their inbox, especially in Google or other places, you have a chance to unsubscribe. And the problem with that is that following someone is not the same as subscribing. You're not going to get their notes. You're not going to get their first, stories and things like that. So what happens is, you unsubscribe to stay follow, and then you're thinking through notes and other things, you're still following them. And reality is, you lose that writer that you love. That's how it gets done. But if you go into Substack, and rather having everything pushed to your email box and move it to your app, then you're not going to get inundated with all those emails. You might get a few here and there based on, like, the person's going live or this or that. That's all you're going to get, but you're not getting the 50 emails, because I was going crazy with it too one time. So spend some time in your settings. You have to go into your settings and actually change that, and that will actually fix all those problems that you're having with the inbox. So that's something I want to make sure the audience, and I've been preaching that to my subscribers and to my followers. If you subscribe, there's a way to get, you don't have to get it, because I feel embarrassed. I get 50 emails a day on just day-to-day stuff. I don't need
that all?
Well, I just 50 important emails, but I mean, the rest I get a lot of junk, but I don't want Substack junk and all those important emails, because then you're sifting through that.
Would
In
you
other
like to
words-
know how many emails I have in my Substack folder?
No.
9,837
Wow.
Wow.
unread emails.
Yeah.
I have 10,292 emails in that folder. So I decided everything from Substack was going to go into this one folder, and so that I can read it later. But yeah, I mean, I'm subscribed to a bunch of them, and I do get emails. And I wanted to make another question on the followers. My impression was the difference between followers and subscribers was that followers, like when you follow somebody, then you're more likely to see their notes in your feed, right?
That's possible.
So, and the other thing I like to think about as followers as being almost like prospects. So here are people who are sort of slightly interested in you, but not interested enough in you to become subscribers. So they want to see more of your stuff. They want to see more of your notes, but they don't necessarily want to make the leap to subscriber. So anybody who's a follower of yours, you could consider them as sort of like prospects who are thinking about, they're on the fence whether or not they're going to subscribe to you or not. But so they may or may not subscribe to you, but at least they want to hear more from you.
Right. I do have a question. I do have a question from the audience. I've subscribed dollars, and Substack still show me some links as not subscribed. Not sure why that happens. Can you speak to that if you know the answer? So she's basically saying, from what I'm understanding, is that she subscribes, but she's not seeing those subscribers come up in her feed. I guess what it is. I'm not really sure about
emails going into her inbox.
No, I think on her notes. I think it's notes, because what's happening is, from what I understand, is you subscribe to somebody, and you think you're paid dollars to see them in your notes, but I don't think that's happening. I mean, have you guys experienced that too?
Well, when I subscribe to someone, I just see them in my
Your
email. You know, sometimes I do see them in my notes, but I follow a lot of people, so I get it. Like my notes feed is ridiculous.
Well,
and I've actually recently, over the last couple of days, I've actually gotten some trolls, which is great, which means I'm actually touching some nerves somewhere. So I'm pissing some people off. So I've never had so many trolls as I've had recently. So it's great.
Oh my God, you should talk to John. He loves trolls.
Trolls are the best.
Yeah.
And some of them are actually going to graduate into haters, I think, which is even better.
Oh my gosh.
No, if you're,
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. I had one guy who was in literature, and I just became like the top 100, and he was number one for weeks. Okay. Mm-hmm. And somehow or another, he jumps on my Substack and he basically scolds me. He says,
seriously?
Oh, seriously. He didn't like how I restack people. He didn't like all these other little things. He basically said, you just need to write. Don't worry about other people. And just, it's, very egotistic.
People
like,
do that?
So yeah. And this guy was like, he had over 15,000, I think 15,000 followers, if not more. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, whatever. You do you, buddy. And then he blocked me. I was like, okay.
Who's got time to mess around with other people? I just care about what I'm doing. I mean,
why do you care? It's like, why would somebody care that much to go on and just be like, what are you doing?
Your competition, man. You're moving up into his space.
Yeah.
Well, I was told to stay in my lane, so.
Oh yeah, I heard that. That's so ridiculous. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Yeah. All right, so let's focus on this other question I want to address here. Why great writing doesn't always translate into growth? Now, Nat, you've wrote something that was, I would say, was the reason why it hit the way it did was very authentic. It was raw, honest, and just brutally. You were pissed off. It came across that way. It felt great because you let it out. And I think there is a difference between writing for the sake of writing, and then there is writing where it comes from the heart, it comes from the soul, where you actually put it out there. So let's talk about that moment when you wrote that. How did you feel? Did you think you didn't get anything out of it? Like, what was it just press the button, I don't care moment? Okay, let's talk about it.
Well,
So it
what
was
was the title, Nat? Real quick, what was the title of it?
the level of inauthenticity on Substack is out of control. Yeah.
Awesome.
That was a
So
great
it
title.
was,
That was
yeah,
good.
it kind of was like a buildup. So I joined Substack on right around the end of last year, November, December. And in the first 2 months, it was like just getting all of these really supportive things on my feed. And come January, it started with I just noticed, the gurus and the how to grow your Substack, and like it started getting really crazy, and I ignored it. And then this really upset me because I was watching like somebody's live and I saw someone say that he was developing a tool to like automate your response to notes. And I think it just threw me over the edge because what I started understanding and I started recognizing were these patterns where people are using AI to like generate the same content over and over to essentially regurgitating everything. So like that AI regurgitation with the automation of the platform with the combined guru posts just like put me in a headspace that I really was I felt like I was losing my mind. And something, so what John said in the beginning, it's like you feel like, you write great stuff where you pour your heart into it and nobody responds. So the night before, I remember this was a Wednesday, and the Tuesday night I had like one of those cocktails and mocktail sessions, and like no one joined until like one person joined in the last 15 minutes. And I think I really was at like my wit's end. And so that Wednesday, I wrote it in on my iPhone in notes in like the little notes section, and I just remembered like copy pasting it right into Substack. And I'm just like, I wrote, I'm like, either people, I'm gonna lose subscribers or I'm gonna gain people. I really didn't care. I was so angry, and I felt like if I did not get this out fast enough, like I was physically going to explode. So to John's point, like I didn't really spell check it. I had like really didn't do much with it at all. I didn't reread it 10 times. I just let it go. And I was like, whatever happens, happens. And I mean, it took off. It just catapulted, and I think everybody was responding. 99% of the comments are positive, and everyone's like, "Thank you for saying this." Because it's, I like use some F words. I'm like really angry in it, right? And people are just like, people really resonated, and they're like, "Thank you for being brave enough." And I didn't feel like I did anything brave. I was just at my breaking point, and
Yeah.
it's just, to me, you've got this platform and people are here like pouring their souls out, and you want to automate something and you want to have like your bot comment on my bot, like what the hell. And I lost my
Yeah.
mind. So,
And I think the other thing we were talking about, it might have been before that, is you see these accounts just show up and then all of a sudden they go from 0 to 500 subscribers in like one day. And
yeah,
you go, how the hell is that possible? Like here I am pouring my heart out, working really hard to try and grow my Substack. And then all of a sudden they come in and boom, they're gone. And you're like,
yeah,
what the hell just happened? Who
exactly.
are these people? And then, did some research on it. And it's like, there are like teams that come on Substack just to create these manufactured accounts that they just either they import subscribers, but then they come out and say, oh, all I had to do was show up for a couple of days, and all of a sudden I have 500 subscribers because they imported them, right? But they don't
Yeah,
mention that they're so inauthentic. They're just full of it, and it just drives you nuts when you see these, like you're working really hard
yeah,
to try and grow your Substack, and you see the accounts suddenly go to like 10,000 subscribers, and then when you look at their notes, it's great. You can find one of these accounts. I'm not going to mention them, but you can find. I know a couple of them that are just like this. If you go and look at their notes, they're all exactly structured exactly the same, like one note after another. You could just, it's obvious when you go to their notes page and you just their profile page and you look at all their notes all at once. It's like AI generated, repeated, repeated,
yeah,
repeated, repeated, repeated. And this person's got 13,000 subscribers, and who knows how many paid subscribers. So there are those kinds of accounts, and those seriously piss me off because the rest of us are working hard to do things authentically. And I think that struck a chord with you too.
Yes.
It's
So for my personal Substack, because my platform's different, like I have a storytelling platform. So what I do is my platform is I want to encourage other people to tell their stories. So how I grow my network is I collaborate every single week. So every single week I do a podcast every Wednesday, same time. And every week I create little material that I do on myself by going into Canva, taking people's pictures, taking their stories and overlaying them and creating all this beautiful material to promote them throughout the week to build up to the day that I do the podcast live with them to collaborate, because I think that it's so important to share their story and help build up that momentum to that day, that Wednesday. But then at the same time, I also, Let's Get Unstuck is, for me, is about building awareness around the purpose of growing from pain to purpose to power. And so I've, created a little cute little template, but that I create little quotes that I like to put on each week to help kind of just like give somebody a warm feeling, fuzzy feeling inside. So if you look at my page, it is kind of funny just based on what you're saying, even though it's different. I know you're not saying it to me, but it is very much like one day, each day I'll have my quote. Then each day I'll also have something I'm posting to support the writer that's coming on with me on every Wednesday. But, so I kind of feel like, but I'm trying to build something here. I'm trying to build brand awareness around who Let's Get Unstuck, or what Let's Get Unstuck is about. But I completely understand what you're saying, Chris. Another thing that helped me though, which was crazy, I ended up getting, Ellen Shear is one of my dearest friends on here, one of my first friends I met. And she wrote an article about aging out of fucks. And it's all about life. And she ended up getting over millions she went from, you're talking hundreds to 17,000 over like a 3-week period. And she, now that article is now on Oprah's website with over 2 million views. And Ellen, as a friend, recommended me. That recommendation got me over 1,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
wow.
It happens.
So
It absolutely happens.
It does happen, but like then it's weird though, because then it's like, then I have other people, like recently I've had 6 people recommend me in 1 week because I think of one of my podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get like 2 subscribers.
Yeah. No, it's
like, and then I have
the viral hits do happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm just talking about there's these manufactured accounts, at least they feel manufactured, that have the same content over and over and over again. And you can tell just by looking at it that it's not really a human being writing it. But they all have, 15,000, 20,000 subscribers. And I'm sure there's a lot of real people who've been fooled into thinking this is, legit. And those are the people that they're harvesting. But there are situations where like Nat's post, like that post, where you do get that viral shot. I've never had one yet. So hopefully one day it might happen. But yeah, I mean, it does occur.
Yeah. But for like I've been on it for 2020 since the pandemic. I started writing in 2023, March of 2023. And this is before all this stuff you guys are talking about. But getting subscribers, I was begging people to come on to my Substack to be subscribers. I was actually going to get family and friends or go on my Facebook, get other people to come in. I've never really had a viral story, but mine are inspirational stories, positive pen type thing so I'm not going to get the viral hits like most of you guys could get. But where I started was very ground zero. Where I am today is I fought for every subscriber along the way.
Mm-hmm. Same.
It wasn't given to me. And not that I'm grateful for every single one of them. Do I want to be a 20,000 account? Maybe, but there's also problems with that too. There's a lot of, how many people, like, I respond to almost every single comment that posts on me because I feel like I'm obligated to do that.
I do as well.
Same.
And it's sometimes a like, sometimes I put a note, but I've been trying to be very conscious of that as well. But it's really, it could be very time consuming. When you got like 50, 60 comments, you gotta get, that's what, almost 10 minutes for each comment, almost to respond, and you're researching, and your phone keeps jumping up and down. You're getting
Yeah.
busy, and so. But
especially when you want to put a good comment, not
yeah,
just like exactly or 100%
Yeah.
or agreed or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
You have to be.
but you have to be very. But the thing is, overall, is that we all, getting to 20,000. It's a great goal, but it comes with, like, do you lose out? Like right now, we're very micro, or in a sense that we're able to, like, be attended to a lot of people. But when you're at 20,000, are you being attentive? Is that reason why AI is part of that? So they can always address the ones that, do you know what I mean? Like,
No, I think once people get to a certain size, or at least the ones I've seen, is that the amount of time somebody comments or drops off precipitously. Like they'll get to a certain point where they just stop commenting, or they'll post a note and people will comment, but they'll never respond to the comments. I've done that a bunch of times just to see what would happen, right? Okay, here's a 13,000, a 20,000,
Yeah.
account. And it's like, there's a really interesting, so I'll put in a really, thoughtful comment to see if they'll respond to my comment, and I never get anything. So I think at a certain point, they just say, I'm big enough now. I don't really care, for these onesies, twosies, people who respond. I'm just going to put my stuff out, and I'm just going to keep churning in new people, right? And I'm not going to take it, which is sad, because if you think about the people who are subscribed to you, they already want to hear your message. So you should be better with them than you are with the people who have not subscribed to you yet. So, and that's what I'm worried about. Like, if I ever get to a size where it's just too much to handle, then I'm concerned that I'm gonna run out of time to respond to people.
Yeah.
How about you guys, Nat and Trace? What do you think? Are you guys getting to that point where responding is becoming more of a chore, or are you guys?
I'm not there yet because I don't have. I haven't. Like my posts, because I do more, like I said, I do more podcasting now. That's kind of more of my like my lane in versus writing. Like I haven't written that much, and like I think the last time I wrote was because I was in a rut and I felt like shit. So I wrote, like, literally, that was the title. I think I'm in a rut and I feel like shit. And like and so,
see, now that is a viral post right there.
people were like, they're like, oh my god,
just drop an F-bomb and you're all set. I'm in a fucking rut and I feel like shit.
This is so
Boom.
But
I think you and Nat should get together sometime and just write something out.
So we should collaborate. Like, I got the whole, this is so relatable, and like, but I'm not getting like to the point where it's so overwhelming that I can't like respond in an authentic way.
yeah.
Like, people, like, for me, it's kind of like, I had one note that maybe did like 200, but like half of those were because somebody commented and I genuinely wrote back. So it was like between me and them commenting. And if I'm going to comment, I'm actually going to comment. Like it's if I'm going to take the time, it's because you said something that really resonated with me, and I want you to know I care. So I'm not at that point where I'm like Ellen, like she stopped it because she's getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on some of her stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's a bit overwhelming, especially when you have a day-to-day job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not there yet, so I haven't hit that crossroad.
How about Nat? What do you think?
Me either. I try to keep up with my comments. I was really, really good, especially on that viral article, but it was super time consuming. But as you know, right now I'm unemployed. So, I mean, it was almost like a full-time
lots
job.
of time.
Chris, you beat me to it.
Wait, what did he say? I missed it.
You have
lots of time.
I did. Well, yeah, but the thing is, although I had lots of time, it was taking hours and hours, and I don't have any regrets because I feel like that article really brought me genuine connections. But even now, like, I've been really busy just with some other personal stuff in my life, and I make an effort, even if it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., I'm trying to respond to those comments. But I know what John says. I guess because I'm going through so many of them, the screen keeps jumping, and I mean,
yeah, it's not
been
easy.
driving me nuts. So,
But I also think you've got to find some balance too, like to what we're all talking about. Like in the beginning, I was like, Substack every hour. What's going on in Substack? Like the notifications,
Yeah.
ping, 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 ping. And I was like, okay, like now this is becoming like a thing. Like this needs to like, you need to take an hour in your morning when you're having your coffee.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour when you just want to chill because you're excited about your comments and stuff at like, because you mean something to you. So you want to take an hour at night and then you address it. But like the nonstop of like the in-betweens and like it taking over your days, like I couldn't, I can't.
Well, you know that post where I said, okay, I'm leaving Substack and I'll be back in 5 minutes? That's basically my day. I get so much enjoyment out of it. I mean, I'm having fun on here. It's like, so I was on Twitter in 2008 and it was fun. It was so much fun to post stuff and get responses and comments and replies back then. And this is what Notes feels like to me today. So I post, I don't know if you've obviously seen my notes. They're just totally, whatever's on the top of my mind at the moment. It has nothing to do with my brand. So that's what somebody said to me. It's like, what are you doing? You should only be talking about your brand. And I'm like, no, that's boring. I just want to talk about whatever I want to talk about. It even says what's on your mind. So I just like unload what's on my mind into my notes. So I just find it fun interacting with people on here, even if it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. So I just find it really enjoyable.
So the thing that kind of leads into the question about how to stay consistent, but also, have you ever thought about quitting and because of the burnout? Because this could get really, like you said, this could be a daily grind in some cases. It's fun now, but it can turn into work that most of us don't want to do. So, I mean, how do you stay consistent without burning out and not feeling like you need to quit? Because there was an author on here or a Substacker that did quit 24 hours and moved on, and then came back on. How Nat? What do you think? You're new to this whole world. Have you ever reached that point where it's like, oh my God, this is way too much?
No, but I've set some rules and some boundaries for myself. One being, if I don't feel it, I'm not writing it. And so I've not posted probably for 2.5 weeks. I've not done a long post. And it's not because I don't have anything to post, but I haven't really felt like I have something that I really want to put out. I have some stuff sitting in drafts and I may get to it. I have been busy as well, but I'm, I'm really trying not to let it get the best of me. I know that, in the beginning, I was trying to do two articles a week. And I myself started to feel like I was being a little repetitive. And so I took a step back and I looked at what I was writing. And I think at some point, if you're going to stick to a niche, you may end up writing the same thing in different ways. And I started recognizing that a little bit. So I pulled away and I just want to keep it fresh. So I think that I have enough content. I try to keep up with my notes. But I'm not going to be pressured into writing X amount of posts per week because I think then the content, you dilute it. I feel like the authenticity and the value is not as high as it should be or as it could be. So I know actually I'm overdue, but I think once a week for me is like the max. I can't see myself doing two posts, too long posts.
You're breaking all the rules, Nat. You're supposed to do it on a regular basis. Every week, every 2 weeks. You're breaking all the rules. That's probably why you're growing. Is because see, this is the funny inverse weirdness about any email service like this. It's like when you send a post, you'll lose subscribers. Absolutely. So when you send a post, people will look at it, and the people who are on the fence will go, I don't want to read this anymore. So every time you send something, you lose subscribers. So if you don't send anything like you've been doing, you're just going to keep going up and up and up. So if you keep active on notes, keep engaging and sending comments, more people will subscribe. But then when you do finally send a post, you'll probably see some unsubscribes because they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I get some, but it's not. I mean, I've gotten like maybe one or two. It's not like a huge number that unsubscribes. But the other thing that I've made a conscious effort to do is I don't want my long posts to be like super long, where
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, if it's like midlife, like I don't know, like ADD or something. It's like if I'm reading something and it's taking me over 5, 6 minutes, by the time I get to the bottom, I'm like, oh my God, what did they say at the
Oh yeah,
top?
nobody's going to read that much.
Yeah.
TLDR.
So so I'm trying to also keep mine to like a 1 minute read. And that article again, this the one that we keep talking about. That one was probably a minute, and it just kind of said, so I'm trying to reevaluate how I do things, not to be repetitive, not to be too too long drawn, and so I think it's good. So no burnout, not yet. I think I was burnt out enough with work, so this is still refreshing and brings me joy.
So
Yeah, I've
Tracy,
heard.
are you facing something like a burnout, or have you faced that point where you kind of like, because
Not
you're
yet.
you're mixing things up here a little bit as you're moving forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't not burnout with Substack, burnout with life, sure, but burnout with Substack, not so much. I mean, I, for me, it's more than being on Substack. Like I have my own blog outside of Substack, which is I'm trying to build like a digital community outside of Substack. I'm trying to build awareness around a concept. And so like you, Nat, I write when I feel like writing. I cannot write when I've had people approach me saying, "Hey, can we collaborate on this topic?" And I'm like, I can't do it because I don't feel it. So for
Yeah.
me, like you, I only write now maybe once a month.
Mm.
I I have kind of seen my subscribers stifled a little bit. Like I haven't lost so many, I haven't gained so many either. I post note because I each week what I'm doing is I'm talking about other people's stories. So it's like for me, it's more about it's I collaborate that way, but I don't get burned out because I tell myself you're not going to write unless you feel like writing. So I don't feel like, oh, Tracy, it's Tuesday. Oh, it's Thursday. You've got to have your
Yeah.
800 word, story to post. Like at the beginning, I started to do that.
I
And then,
was like that too in the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no. You're not going to force yourself to write. Like you're going to write from your heart if that's the
Yeah.
person that you really are. And that is who I am. So I will
Yeah.
write stories like I'm in a rut. I feel like shit. Like that's like, because in that
Yeah.
moment, that's like you did. You were upset that moment where you're like, what is going on with Substack? And you wrote how you felt.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get out of me. So that's why I don't get burnt out on Substack because I don't feel like I have to do something. I do it because I want to.
Yeah. I think that's key, actually.
Yeah. Go ahead. Nat.
I was just gonna say, and my I don't have paid subscription enabled, so my content is free, and I also don't know if I can ever do paid because then I feel that that puts me in a different bracket where I'm obligated to provide some type of content for the value of someone paying me, and that's the reason why I keep it free, because I feel like I could just be me and I could work on my schedule, work on my time. And so that's important because I think it's different for people who have paid subscribers where there's an expectation that there's some value that your customer needs to get. Obviously they're not
Yep.
going to sit there and pay you and then wait for 3 months for an article, because then that's not fair either. So for that reason I keep mine free.
What I love about that though, and you actually reminded me because at first mine was just whatever, and people were just tip jarring me, like,
Mhm.
"Hey, this cool whatever. Here's some money," and then I was like, somebody's like, "No, you should have a paid tier system," and so I put one in. But now I like just listening to you, I've been meaning to shut that back off and just put it back into like, hey, if you like my stuff and you want to tip
Yeah.
me, hey, sweet, tip me. Here's my tip
Yeah.
jar. But like in no way am I trying to monetize on Substack. Like that's not actually what I'm here for. Like I'm not here to monetize. Like people are like, well, what do you want to do with your page? Like what is your goal? I said, my goal is to share people's stories and to connect with others and give them other people who are in a really crappy situation hope, and know that from other people's stories that there is a way forward. Now, I do want to monetize my brand, but my brand I want to monetize eventually based on collaborating with bigger brands out there and advertisers who actually, they're companies who can afford to collaborate and pay me to do the work. But I'm not trying to make the money off of the people that actually have these stories.
Yeah.
So thank you for the reminder, because I'm going in after this and I'm going back to my tip jar.
You're welcome.
Chris?
Well, what's the question? The burnout?
Yeah,
I enjoy it too much. Right? I'm never going to get burned out on this. It's too much fun hanging out. Unless they change it completely and turn it into X, then I'll stay on there for good. And I do have, like I said, I have 2 newsletters. One is just whatever's on my mind. That's Think Future. And that one is at a paid tier, but I'm probably going to remove that because a lot of the stuff that I have earlier on, I want to be able to reshare it. And you know how it automatically goes into pay after 3 months or something like that? I'll probably turn that off.
Yeah.
But for Nomads 50, that is that I do have a paid tier, but I have only a few subscribers, not too many. And I do put premium content behind those things. But that one's more structured specifically for a specific niche. So that's a real niche product, right? Specifically for a niche. So that's why I built that specifically to do that. And it's an offshoot of what I was starting to do on YouTube. But for when it comes to burnout, I enjoy myself too much. I'm kind of a serial writer, like a serial killer, but I write. So I just enjoy writing. It's like I can't. Somebody goes, well, have you ever had trouble writing stuff? And I go, no, I have trouble not writing stuff. Like I sit down and I have to write something. I'll spin off a short story, or I'll work on my novel, or I'll do some blog posts. It's like whenever I sit down in front of a computer, I feel like I should just be writing, because I have so many ideas that I still want to put out there. And I don't think I'm ever going to experience that, because whenever I do get to a point where I'm tired of something, I never get to a burnout stage, but if I get tired of something, I just start another project. I just put you on hold. Okay, you go on hold, and I'll start something new, and then I'll start something new. And then I'll have extended conversations with ChatGPT on some new business idea that I have a new business idea. I've had 400 pages of discussion with ChatGPT on this business idea. So I'll do that for a while, right? And then I'll put that on hold, and then I'll go do something else. So I don't know, Tracy, you do the same?
Did Chat tell you, oh my God, Chris, this is the best, most $1 million idea?
No, I actually
roll with it.
The friend of mine, somebody I interviewed, said, "Oh, put this in your settings, so it stops bullshitting you about how awesome you are or how great your ideas are." I said, "Okay, I put that in. It's like, okay, much better."
I did that to mine. I told it, I'm like, stop trying to flatter me. I don't like it.
I said the same thing.
This is the best business idea ever. You're going to make millions or billions. And I'm like, oh, no. Stop bullshitting me. Come on. Tell me the truth.
Exactly.
So, I was in October, I was done with Substack. I was done writing.
Really?
No way.
It was too much. You got to remember, I was writing 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were
over a year. For over 3 years, I was writing stories about other people, and I was trying to write about my stuff and all that. And it got mundane. It just got boring for me. Not that people fascinate me. Cultures fascinate me. Languages fascinates me. Those type of things. History fascinates me. But it got to the point where I was kept repeating like a lot of you guys are saying, repeating yourself, and the story just became not from me. I tried to make it about me, but it was really hard. So I switched. So I said, I needed, and I was down 500 subscribers at the time. And I was like, I'm not growing. Nobody really cares about this crap. And why does this matter? That's what my ultimate question was. Is it for me, or is it for my ego? Who's it for? And so, and then, I was doing the podcast, and that wasn't going the way I was wanted it to go, because it wasn't about Substack itself and writers. And I was kind of in this in between, trying to figure it out. And then I said to myself, you know what, rather than if you're writing about books, then let's write about books. If you're writing about a philosophy about life, then write about that. versus writing about, like, doing the research about somebody, going through them, asking them permission if kind of write about you, and then this back and forth trying to collaborate. And it was a lot of work. I don't know if Tracy, I did you, I think, 1 year, and I don't think I did Nat, but it was a lot of work to put that together. And so I kind of like backed it off, and I said, okay, I'm going to really focus on the podcast because I really want to get into a direction that I want to go into. And now I write stories where, like, I write just the sake of writing. I write all the time just because that's how I am.
You're a serial writer too.
Yeah, I'm a serial, but I write. But then, and I was like looking at, I remember, like, I was like thinking to myself, okay, Wednesday is going to be dedicated to either a story about about the book. And that became, now I'm writing between Remy's journey and the hospital stay. I don't know if you guys have been following that, but I have those kind of like going back and forth. So I don't get bored. I get bored writing about stuff, the same thing. And then Mondays are usually my philosophy of life. And then usually Monday nights, my podcast. And that's been kind of going better because I just felt like I'm a lot more freer. I'm not restricted. And what I'm writing about now, people on Fridays, it's about my podcast. It's not about a story that doesn't have a follow-up. It's a story now I have a follow-up. And then, it's a little less now. I'm not off to be burnt. I was getting burnt out. I don't feel burnt out. I don't feel like I've forced myself. Like, I don't know if you ever came across, you can actually schedule, one time you were able to schedule 365 days on Substack. They cut it back down to 3 months.
Oh man.
That kind of pissed me off.
I've only tested it as far as 2 months out, so I didn't even know if that's the case.
Yeah, it's 3 months out. So, but if you could sit down and write out 15 stories, which is, it's about life. It's pretty easy because you just have to it's not that hard. You just look for it and get going. But it was like writing stories about people every time. It got really, for me, it was not that I didn't like doing it. And that was the intention of it, was the inspirational stories of other people. Again, it got redundant and I was tired of it and I didn't want to do it anymore. And that's where I was at around October.
Wow.
So I just want to say one thing about you guys talking about being bored with your content. If you think about it, there's always new people coming on to Substack and new people coming subscribing to you that haven't seen your old stuff and they've never seen your old stuff. So repurposing it and reposting it or rewriting it and reposting it is actually beneficial because those people haven't seen it yet. So to them, it's new. To you, it might be boring because you've done it a million times, but to them, it's brand new. So I wish that emails lists were different, right? So you could actually go back and say, when you subscribe to me, you start from the beginning. If you get my first post, then my second post, then my third post. So every single subscriber gets a different set sent to them based on when they subscribe. That way they get the entire arc of product. But the way it is now, it's like, I have people who subscribed at the 300 subscriber mark, and I have people who subscribe at the 700 subscriber mark. Those people who subscribe to the 700 subscriber mark have not seen all of this stuff because they're expecting new things. So kind of rewriting your old stuff and reposting it is useful for them. So I guess the question is to you, it's like, how useful would you think it would be for you to rewrite and do something about redoing your older posts or reposting them?
Well, in Substack, they encourage you to regurgitate your old stuff.
Yeah. How would you do that?
They encourage you to do that. How you do that is through notes is one, or you repost it. Right. Either way. And I've tried doing that a couple of times. I mean, it didn't get really much, but that was the question. I guess the question is has your writing gotten better over a period of time since you got on Substack? Like most of us obviously started years before, but you think your writing back then is completely different than it is today? Because mine is completely different.
Oh yeah. But some of the stuff that you wrote back then, like say, for example, there's a post that you did early on, had a great concept, and you think to yourself, well, maybe I should rewrite that or refresh it for today because your new subscribers are going to see it. So the people who were with you at the 20 subscriber mark saw that, but the people at the 700 subscriber mark have not seen that. So maybe it would make sense to go back and look at it, refresh it, write it again in a new way with your skill sets of today, and then post it as a new newsletter post. So even though it's repeating your old work,
Yeah, Tracy.
new people are seeing it.
Question on that, Chris. Can't you also, like, I think I tried this before because you guys were teaching me something I didn't know. I didn't know they encourage you to repost it, because sometimes when I get subscribers, they'll start commenting on my very beginning ones, which I love and appreciate, because
I get that.
you're taking the time to go back and learn, like, why did you even start here? What was your very, very first article? Because that's where I think you're really going to learn something about something.
Yeah.
Unless they're fiction writers or whatever. But that's not true. But what I also know is because you can schedule, when your articles go out. So can you go back into your article from May of 2025 and reset your time on the schedule?
That's a good question. I don't think
it's actually an update. It's an update. You're updating your article, and it could So when you go in there and you say you change the content, it won't reschedule it. It will consider it to be an update.
Right, but can you go in and change the post time?
Yes,
is the question.
Date and time. So because for me, when I do I'm just going back to me real quick. So when I do my podcast, I schedule it for the following day, and I set the date and time that I want the podcast to actually go out as an article, because I'll write with that. But then if I want to repost that, can't I? Because I want it to go out in 2 weeks for people who didn't see it. You can go in and you can change the date and the time for future posts.
That's a good question. I'm going to
do that right now.
I'm going to check that right now.
Do that right now, because I just subscribed to you and Nat because
you can't go beyond today.
I can't. Oh, you can't go. Wait, what?
So I just took my very first post and I tried to change the publication date, and it takes me to today, and I can't go into the future.
Well, mine says.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
So I might be able to repost it. I might be able to change the publication date to today, but I don't think it'll resend it.
That's what I was wondering. And sorry, I actually said that wrong. I confused myself. What you just did is exactly what I meant. Taking something old and posting it, changing the date to today.
All that does is change. All that does is change your publication date. It does not resend it.
Oh, boo! Come on, Substack.
So that's what I'm saying. You have to go back and rewrite it, because you have to, it's probably a good idea. See, this is the thing that I've done too. A lot of the stuff that's in my Think Future newsletter is actually things I've rewritten, right? I had a newsletter for 10 years, or a newsletter for 10 years on a different blog on a WordPress. And some of the ideas that I've talked about then, I've just rewritten those for today. So you can go back and do that same thing. So go back and look at your older posts and go, well, that one I should revisit, and just rewrite it and post it so that your new set of subscribers will be able to enjoy it as well. Because a lot of times they don't go back into the past. Like those few who have gone back, that's excellent. But a lot of people don't. They don't go into the past and look at those.
Go ahead. I was going to say something. I went into the very first article that I wrote, right? And all it does, it says preview and continue. And that's all I have are my options. You can't change the date.
Well, it should take you after you hit continue.
Here, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, because I'm trying to visualize it.
It will allow you to change the date, but all it does is update the publication date. It will not resend it.
That doesn't make sense.
It's annoying.
So you've seen the screen?
Yeah.
Go to the.
Okay, so right here, all I have is preview and continue.
Hit settings at the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, settings.
Yeah. So hit that, and then scroll down. You should see a publication date. If you change that will take you can't change that publication date to anything past today, and it won't. All it'll do is it'll change the publication date, but it won't resend. It won't resend it to anybody.
What's the purpose of that then? That doesn't make any sense.
If you just want it's kind of like a blog, in WordPress they do that too. They'd allow you to reset the publication date, just so they can make the articles look more. What'll happen is that if you reset the publication date to today, then when you look at your articles on your Substack, it will show up as the first article because it is the latest article. So it'll show up on your page but it won't be resent as an email.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Nat, what
Well,
I was
that's
going to say is if we just off of Chris's brilliant idea,
Yeah.
because you and I don't like to write, like, I mean, not that we don't like to write, but we write so like, you know, sparsely now. Like,
Yeah.
now we can go back to all of the things we've already written and revamp them and then repost them. So we
Yeah,
just
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, because I find that I do that all the time. I have a set of core ideas that I just keep going back to, and just go back and rewrite that a bunch of times. Like I have this one concept called the doers versus the I forget what it is, but it's basically people who want to move forward and people who want to hold things back. And I've written that same post probably about 5 different ways, and use different terminology for each of the things, but the internal concept is the same. It's like there's people who want to do things to see what will happen, and there's people who say, "Oh, don't do that," because we don't know what's going to happen. So it's like it's an internal struggle between those two. And I've written that post like 5 different ways over 20 years.
So let's jump into the AI stuff. Nat.
I'm like the AI queen.
You're the AI guru now?
Yeah.
The anti-AI guru. No,
anti-AI guru.
I did preface in the beginning of my article, I did say that I do like AI.
I'm busting you, okay?
I know.
It's a Canadian thing. Chris knows.
So John, did you have like a question? Like
so like where do we draw the line between using AI as a tool or losing your authentic voice? But then, here's the other thing is where AI supports your work, like where does it support it? Like how do you think it'd be used? And where can it quietly take over everything? I mean, is that where the direction is? Is that what we're, I can see it taking over a lot of stuff. So
oh my gosh. I have a lot of stuff to say on that. Well,
go for it.
I will say that so the positive things, obviously, and I think we've always been using AI to some extent. We just didn't really know it as AI. But I mean, if you think of spell checking and grammar checking and all of those things, right? We've been using it forever, and it's not been taboo. So I still use AI for those things specifically, spell checking, grammar, etc. What I will do is, and we were just speaking earlier about what you can tell your chat GPT to do and not do. So I will explicitly tell mine, do not rewrite my words, because it has a tendency to do that. And it actually pisses me off because it likes to say that it does it better than me. And I'm like, no, you do not write better than me, you bastard. So I've kind of
So what's your AI's name?
Sloan.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've actually named it?
Oh yeah.
Mine's Steven. She said I am Sloan. I'm like, all
You're
right.
Steven.
Mine's Steven.
So Sloan and I have some back and forth. No, but so I think it should be used as a tool, right? Like very long story short, use AI as a tool, use it to, spell check, to grammar check, to make sure that you're not, sending something out there that it's blatantly incorrect. What you should not do is to have it replace your voice and have it replace your emotions, because what you can do is you can give it a prompt. You could, let's say you give it 5 sentences, and say, this is how I feel, and this is what I want to convey, and blah blah blah, right? And it will generate an article for you. And that's what I fight against, because you start recognizing patterns in their words. There's certain words that AI uses, and it's like you spot it right away. And forget about the M dash, because everybody knows not to use an M dash anymore. But there are significant
patterns. Valid reasons to use M dashes. It's proper grammar.
It is proper grammar, but and so for that reason, and I did a series of articles after that, an authenticity article, and the second one being, and this was based on a very true story. I wrote another one that says, I forgot the title, but it was something like AI is destroying your trauma, right? And I started reading stories of people who were writing about trauma that they experienced. And this person eventually blocked me and unsubscribed, but it turned out that she was using AI. I mean, in the worst form, right? Maybe she gave it 2 prompts and it kept rewriting the same stories. But at first, I was like, wow, this person's a great writer. Like, this is in the beginning when I first started Substack. I was like, wow, like I feel so bad. And then I started noticing the patterns and I was like, wait a minute, like this is really weird. And then shortly after that, like maybe a couple of weeks or months ago, somebody else wrote a story about really explicit trauma, and I read the story and I was like, holy crap. I'm like, this sounds just like the other woman. And I realized that it's not to say that their stories aren't true, but AI is writing like 95% of it. And what that ends up doing is it actually dilutes the trauma, because now it's taking your trauma, it's blending it with mine, because that's what AI does, right? It's just patterns and recognition. So it's taking all of the content that everyone's feeding it, and it's essentially, coming up with its own combined form of what that is. And so I started reading exact sentences from one person's article and the other person's article. And I was just like, this is just not right. Like, if you're going to write about it, just write about it and just say what you have to say. Like, let the pain come out. Like, just it's yours. It should be raw. It shouldn't be. So that's where I draw the line. And I think that people are getting too comfortable. And I've also read articles, which is true, that if you start letting AI do all of your thinking, right, and you just kind of you become dependent on it, then you sort of lose that your ability to do those things. Because if you say to it, outline something for me, you're not really sitting there thinking of the outline anymore. So I think that's where it's scary to take it could take over, but I feel like it'll never have the emotions that you can put into something. Like my anger story, if AI had generated that, I don't think it would have resonated the way it did.
True.
So
Chris,
Well, I would say that.
what's your name of your AI first?
I don't name my AIs. Come on.
Yeah.
But well, I would say that it's well, on the trauma thing. I have interesting. It's almost like, on the one hand, you have to think, why are they doing this, right? Why are they taking their trauma and they're running it through AI before they post it? Are they just using their trauma to get likes, right? Or are they actually, using it to feel better about themselves? So it's just an interesting thing on that regard. But from my perspective, I think AI is a tool, like you're saying, that it's a tool, and it can be used for good or it can be used for evil, right? So you can actually go in there and throw a few words in, and it'll generate an entire article on your behalf. And if you look at that article and afterwards and say, well, that's good enough, and just post it, which is what a lot of people are doing, it's kind of like, where is the humanity in that? And I have a very different conception of AI, because I think AI is actually more human than people say that it is. Because if you think about what goes into an LLM, how LLMs actually construct what its output, it's you. So you as a human create a seed. So you give it a prompt, and that's the seed, right? And then there's a huge database of human-generated content out there that's been written by people, right? People wrote this stuff.
Mhm.
And then there's a machine that's in there too. So it's 2 parts human, 1 part machine. And the machine takes your prompt and the human generated content and slaps it together. So it's actually more human than you think. It's not really a computer generating stuff. It's a computer taking human stuff and putting it together like Lego blocks.
Yeah.
So I'm not that annoyed by AI content. Personally, I'm okay with it as long as so it's like, I don't really care how it's created if it touches me emotionally. So if this is a good piece, if it's a really good piece, and I'm reading it and I'm like feeling something, and if some of it's been generated by AI, it doesn't matter to me, because it's kind of like, okay, was this done on Word? Was it done on a typewriter? Did somebody longhand it? It's another tool that was used to create the content. Now, I'm hoping that whoever created it, they used AI judiciously, and most of it is them, right? Because they're the creator. But the rest of the time, it's like, I'm okay with AI if it's actually created, and if it's actually a good piece. If it's a good piece that comes out of it, and AI's created part of it or has helped enhance it, then I'm okay with it.
How about
So
you, Tracy?
contrary opinion to what most writers are like, I'm not even going to read that. And somebody said to me the other day, they said, I want a good AI detector so I can run every single thing that I run through this AI detector and have it tell me if something is AI or not. If it's AI, I'm not going to read it. And then she took her own stuff and put it in, and it said, oh, this is 20% AI. It's like, I wrote this whole thing 100%. So
They did that with Hemingway too.
Yeah,
Somebody said,
yeah, and the Constitution. They said the Constitution was 80% AI. I'm like, come on.
Well,
Anyway, sorry.
yeah.
I wanted me to go on.
No. That's a good. I mean, just to kind of let you guys know some history, AI has been around since the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
As an artificial intelligence. It was Dartmouth Conference. A researcher named John McCarthy coined the term AI, and it was like chat boxes, images, generator writing assistants, all that and it really took off in 2010, obviously. And I really want to make this loud and clear. We have been using AI since the 1980s as a consumer. When you bought that map, that little map thing that you put in the car, I don't remember those. Like
I know what you mean.
MapQuest, like those little
Yes.
things, that was AI. Your phones, your cell phones, all that, the early ones were all AI. The notion that you can say that you want to be pure, well, I understand that, but if you're putting on a Word document or you're putting in some type of notes or whatever, that's all AI as well. So you're doing everything on an AI platform. You're just not realizing it.
Yeah.
So
It's already there. We're already using AI. Yeah.
And for people with dyslexia, like myself, we've been using it since the early 2000s to help with grammar, to figure things out, making sure we're not flipping numbers and things like that. I mean, it's been in our culture for years. Now, I'm not saying, I'm more of a purist. Like when I write everything out on a Word document. I put everything out, and then, Word takes my grammar, do all that stuff, and then I have a platform that I can go in and fix some stuff. But overall, when you talk about AI, it's heavily influenced. Substack itself is heavily influenced on AI. Everything, all your words, everything you post. And I don't know. It's a debate that I think it's not going to ever end. I think there's people who are very purist, and I understand that. But those are other people that use it as a tool to help them go forward. Now, how much of it? That's why when I write, that's why I write stories about Remy, because they're personal stories that I saw, witnessed it. So no one can say that's not an AI generated story. It's my story, but I did have help with the grammar part of it. But that's all I had.
Again,
So
the tool.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
Right. But I think the argument here is, and I'm sorry, Tracy, I'll get right to you next year. But I think the argument is, as long as you're writing the story and the tool is helping you make sure you're editing part of it, then what's wrong with that, Tracy? What do you think? Is anything wrong with that?
No, I think as long as you're controlling the narrative, I think that's what's most important. I think that, like, for me with AI, I lean on it for like help with efficiency on the things that I'm working on. Like, again, tool, But I'm very big on, you don't say, I'm just gonna go back to this. I'm in a rut and I feel like shit today. Go.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna fucking write like I feel like shit today.
Sorry, I'm gonna go back and rewrite that one. That's what's happening today. Like, I won't do that. Like, I will not just put that in there. Like, I will literally write it out, like write my heart out, or I'll talk in my little chat with my little speaker, and I'm on my walk and I'm all making my notes, if you will, but in chat saying, these are all the things that are going through your head. These are all the things that I put. And then when I get back and I can get in front of a computer, I will hit send and see what it does generate. But then I also go back to it and I'm like, no, you're not going to tell the story for me, but it helps me like look at it all together and then I'll go back and then I'll make all my changes, and then I'll do my version of editing of it. And then, yeah, it's there for grammar and it's there for making sure there's no redundancy. But there is, and I do say this, and I agree with Nat, I don't like where it uses similar phrases, and you can tell it uses similar phrases or similar words to add to a phrase to get the same across. You do see that a lot.
Yep.
But I'm very aware of like I don't want to be like everybody else. So what I'm going to say is it's going to come from me. It's going to come from my heart. I will, like I said, I'll let AI kind of like help me with structure and help me with making sure there's none of that crap in there. But I support AI. I support AI as long as it doesn't control me and it's not answering things for me and it's not my voice.
Spoiler alert, it already controls us if we're on social media.
So I have a quick question.
I don't know what to say.
I have a quick. Tracy brings up a very good point, and I don't think a lot of people understand how we write or how we get our writing. So I'll start off. How I start off a story is I do voice activation, and I'll have it on notes on my phone. I don't record it. I actually write it out. Like in my notes, I'll do a voice, write it out, or I'll sit in front of a computer and I'll write out the story by verbally, like I'll speak in my mic and I write the story out, and then I go back and I fix some stuff. How do you guys start with your stories? Where, like, when you sit down and start, where's the first piece that we can go back to and say, that's how this person starts their story? I mean, before you get to the AI, how do you get there? Chris?
I have a long list in Asana of topics. It's like when I come up with something or something triggers something, I'll just write it in there, and then when I get time, I'll just pull it out of there and I'll write it. And sometimes I do voice too, because sometimes I feel tired typing. It's like I feel like I just want to just speak it out, and I'll just speak it out. And because voice transcription, I much prefer voice transcription to anything, because it's the quickest way for me to get anything on paper. Because it used to be terrible, but now it's actually pretty decent, right? So I'll take that idea and I voice transcribe it into a Google Doc, and then that's where it starts. And then I just basically throw it into AI and say, hey, tell me what you think of this. Should I make any changes? Give me some editing advice. And then that's what ends up becoming the articles that I create. And usually the ideas all come from everywhere.
Tracy, where do you start? How do you start your writing of a story?
I'm gonna go back to, I'm in a rut and I feel like shit today.
Wait a minute, you forgot the F-bomb.
I cannot go. I mean, like, it's literally, it comes from a place of, this is what's on my mind and I need to get this out. Like, that's exactly where it comes from.
Do you just voice it, or do you put it into a Word document, or it starts with notes? What's the first thing you start with putting that story together? You type it all out. Wow.
I'll type it all out if I'm in front of my computer, but if I'm on a walk, I make voice notes.
Okay.
So it just depends where I'm at and what tool I have in front of me. But a lot of the time, it's either or. I use them both.
Nat, how about you? Where do you start?
So mine, similar to Tracy, it's definitely something that I'm feeling, and I either write it immediately on my phone or I write it on my computer. So I don't even do the voice thing, but maybe I should. I don't know. I've never tried it. So yeah, that's how I do mine. And then after that, I kind of look at it, and then I'll throw it into chat, and just like I said, I've thrown it in there and it's tried to rewrite it, and I'm like, no, do not rewrite. Do not rewrite my work. Just please spell check and grammar check. And I do tell it to like format it for Substack, because there is a way, I guess, it kind of aligns it, and then I paste it in.
You put it in Substackian. It's a language to itself. Have you noticed that?
I paste it into Substack. it doesn't change anything. It just, it's like some line or some blocks or something.
Yeah, it's
And
some Substackian type format where it's like I've
yeah,
taken all my old posts and I said, "Can you write this in Substackian?" And it goes, "What?" It formats it properly.
yeah, it's a formatting because I
I
have
It's
did not
almost
know
issues.
that.
lyrical. It's almost like
I
writing a poem.
I did not
I
know that.
I have issues formatting, but then I pasted into the page that you guys were just showing, and I go in and I insert where I want to put in the subscribe and the comment and that sort of stuff. So it's a very manual process for me.
So thank you for doing this, writer's notes. Really appreciate it. The audience have been going crazy. The chat's been going crazy. I couldn't keep up to it, but it's just been going nuts. I want to say thank you, everybody who've been commenting, who watched this from the beginning, or who just jumped in. I think these podcasts. There's another one coming up. I think in a month from now, and it's going to be on Wednesday night or Thursday night. I can't remember what it is, but I will tag this below the summary of this podcast. Chris, Nat, Tracy, Chris, how do they get a hold of you? What's your Substack handle?
Nomads 50 Plus.
Okay.
Just go to nomads50plus.com. That's it.
Tracy?
Let's Get Unstuck blog.
Nat?
Midlife Reset on Substack.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. And if you, reach out to us, talk to us, and we'll love to help you out if we can. If not, have a pleasant Saturday afternoon, one of my favorite days of the week. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
Happy
so much.
Saturday.
Thanks.
Bye all.
Bye. Bye-bye.